Yo, 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 yeah. Okay, this topic is on the redundant role of an architect or what it could become. Architecture has evolved to create a lot of new professions with it. GBI, calculator, the architectural engineer, the 3D designer, the facade designer, so on and so forth. Do you think at one point the architect as a role would become redundant? Secondly, do you think the holistic view of a building and sitting in a cityscape would be lost?
Okay, first thing first, what do you think an architect is?
A space designer?
That's only part of their job. Architects are also the one who monitors the project. They are the main consultant of the whole project. To say that an architect's job is redundant would be
Well, that would just be putting a leader position there
Yeah.
and just delegating
because
work.
the architect is supposed to understand.
Why don't all the group of people at one point collectively decide we don't want the architect and design their own building?
No, I believe there should be a system in
No.
a system of construction where they have this kind of
Let him.
people with profession specializing there, and then with that kind of profession, they can get an architect as the leader to lead them to actually because. Okay, I read this in the book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. They talk about a leader. He has to have a vision and also mission. Vision is that when you lead from the right brain. Your right brain is the creative part. Whereas your left brain is what manage everything. It's the logical part. You manage all the calculation towards that point of your vision. So in that case, the architect, we learn, we integrate arts and science. So there's the correlation between creativity and also logic. So in that case, I believe that the architect, since we learned that kind of way, the architect should be the one who decide. He had already had a vision, so he lead from his right brain. And then at one point, he looked at every profession with the ability because he cannot do everything by himself. So he managed every one of them. He made sure this is
But
what I
in a
want.
sense, it's reducing the responsibility
No,
of an
because
architect.
originally architect has all of those responsibility.
Yes.
Why do you
Then
think they
it's
broke
only an
into
individual.
that one? They broke into
So that
multiple
you can
because they want
mass-produce
can-
buildings that
No,
sometimes
no.
are hideous.
Because technically they branch because they need a more professional view of it because architect can't handle every single detail
Why
regarding it.
not?
Have you tried doing a project?
Yes, I know it's difficult, but
It's
we
not-
come to an age where it's acceptable for an architect to realize that, okay, I can't do everything. Why can't you?
Okay.
So many architects
There
did
is-
it before you. There were
Yeah,
interior
that's why-
designers, there were landscape architects.
Yes, because after that, more and more ideas, more and more innovations were made, and architects can't handle everything.
Let me put it in this way. There is saying that architecture is a dead profession. Why is it dead? Is because architects are turned into more of project manager instead of an architect. They are the head of everything, but in a way, having all these specialities, this is civil engineering, having all this around you, you become the guy who manages all of these other professions instead of the one leading it. You manage it because you have to see all the project through and through. The managing,
The decision is still up to the architect.
yes, but managing outweighs more than the deciding. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
That's why the architect become redundant.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Your view of an architect is someone who does like that. What you're arguing about is the current state of an architect is actually just someone who just accept and be done with it. Is that what you're trying to say? Like now
Yes,
they're redundant.
mass-produced buildings.
More shit-looking buildings. We see the
Why
necessity in it, but
Okay.
there is a consequence to that, having all this collaboration work. One of the consequences is what she was saying, being a project manager instead of an
Maybe
architect.
it's because when we learn this kind of course, since we always thought of ourselves as leader, maybe it's the ego that everyone don't want to listen to other people. It's like
At one point,
yeah.
all these other professions, because of this arrogance that we've been taught, will let go of their figurehead.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you
Maybe
think so?
if we try to listen, take the time to listen, to take ideas from every part of it, we can actually innovate the architecture in a way. Are you saying that we have this kind of vision and we want to stick to that vision itself?
No, I
And
don't
then we
get
wanna-
why we've been taught to think that we only should know a little about everything. Why not know a lot?
Whoa, no one
No.
can be that.
It's just that when we learn in school that we try to learn a bit about everything. I mean, imagine I want you to
I
learn
know
everything.
it's a difficult task. It is a difficult task. But an architect is someone.
Hold on. You get yours.
Okay.
Speak, boy.
Alright, thank you. Okay, we already learned a bit about construction. We already learned a bit of calculation of cost by next semester. Imagine that's just a bit. Imagine you have to learn the whole thing.
Okay. Can I interrupt you now?
No, not yet. The amount of time to understand every single thing that architect was supposed to know, but something that they are originally supposed to know, is a lot.
Added the green things.
Mhm.
The green GBI shit. and stuff.
Because we can't handle everything.
It is a lot. But the thing is, architects have done it before. It's a very recent trend. So why now?
Okay, example, which architect?
Jeffrey Baba.
Okay, what has he done?
He integrated landscape with his. Okay, I'm skeptical on whether I'm accurate on that.
But Frank Lloyd Wright did it as well. He, other than designing the whole building, he designed the landscape, well, parts of it, and he also designed the furniture and the interior. And he's like
What about the engineering?
The
multitasking.
engineer
Engineering
is
part.
something that you need. I think the engineer is something that's justified.
Then
But these other professions, 3D visualizer, interior designer, facade designer.
Interior designer only works when it
The
is.
form is finished.
Exactly. Is there a disparity in the
The re-
collectiveness of a whole building?
And then the reason
Can-
why they're there is because it's not that the architects or people within the construction industry wants it. It's the people who are outside, they just want something within their own view.
Does it affect the collective nature of the building? Does the building speak the same thing in terms of interior, exterior, landscape? Do you think it would affect? I'm asking, I don't know.
When all do
Not
it
all the
together.
time. I don't believe it will affect all the time. Not all collaboration ends up with spectacular work that everything mashes. To answer your question, no, it's not most of the time. But there are exceptions. Some,
And then
because I haven't been in, I can't really pinpoint.
if architects are the one who holds responsibility of everything, there's a lot of responsibility. Even as architects now, right, with the so-called redundancy that we have as an architect, the profession as an architect now, the amount of responsibility you have over one project is already a lot. Imagine you have to handle the amount of costing, meaning you really have to handle the costing yourself. You really have to handle the amount of calculation to build everything by yourself. You're already stressed over managing a project. Imagine you're managing the whole process of
No,
every
I'm
single
just,
thing.
I understand what already the responsibility is great. But the responsibility has reduced. Can you agree to that?
No.
How about you?
What
Afid?
about architects who have done everything on their own? Their responsibility was much greater.
Yeah, that's the risk that they have to take, but
So
not.
over a timeline, the responsibility has reduced.
Okay, Nazneen has something to say. Naz?
Yeah, I have something to say. To build a building, especially I'm talking in terms of the big scale buildings, it takes a team. Everyone is involved. Even up to the intern, everyone is involved. The architect is just like drives the project or something. Depends. So even big scale buildings, it takes not just one architect, few architects. So in the end, it's still teamwork.
In my past, last time I asked a question to my father. I said that, okay, if a building is collapsed and then there's someone to be blamed, right? In the court of law, should the architect hold the responsibility itself?
Yes.
Generally, it's the architect.
Generally, it's the architect. I asked him, he said that the architect would be 10% of the blame, whereas the next one would be engineer because they specialize in a building construction. Whereas the architect wants it that way, they must specialize, they must hold the responsibility that the building can hold. Whereas we just, how do you say that, hold the design. We just make sure that the design is there. Now, we had to collaborate with the engineers also. So, we take also part of the responsibility for the design. But if anything collapse, it would be from, do you expect me to test everything? Do you
So
expect
that's
me
exactly what I mean. If you don't take responsibility, if you only take 10% of the responsibility,
but then,
does that mean your position is redundant?
But then for me to learn how to make the building strong is like very, very right.
I truly agree that the engineer's role is justified, but it's the other things.
But if you go back in time when they were building the pyramids, the architect who designed the thing, excluding the aliens' help, okay? Because I truly believe aliens are involved in building of the pyramids. Okay. Okay, the architect, what's his name?
Imhotep.
Yes, that this famous skinny guy. He was in this he practically did everything, right? You can
Except for the construction men.
yeah, he practically
He ordered
spent
aliens.
so many years on these 3 pyramids. Where was it built in one time?
Egypt.
Yeah. He practically is everything. So if anything happens to the pyramid, which I don't think anything will, but if anything happens to it, he's gonna be the one that's to blame. But that's going back way too back. Way back. But now it's like you package it nowadays, it's kinda expired system. It doesn't work anymore. So you have to give the specialty to other people. I guess in a way,
Perhaps evolution takes place.
yes.
In the
Therefore,
role of an architect, and
yeah.
it should be.
it should be shuffled and upgraded and changed to the way what you're saying, the redundancy. It happens, but not to all projects.
Do you think eventually? I'm just asking. I don't know. The architect wouldn't exist.
Wow, we are the architects of our lives, aren't
we are. But
No, I think by saying that, what if there is no architect? There's only the
Wow.
engineers.
Okay,
and
let's go. Let's go to that. Let's go to that.
That's like having what you have. You have a project where you don't have a leader.
No, you have a project where you don't have theory to back up, where you don't have story to back up. Like we created experience inside the building. The engineers, they think about physics, how to handle that kind of things. How to
The architects handle about the human side of.
the emotion. So it's like
If there were no architect,
then
nobody
there's
would.
no character.
And
no design.
But
There's
isn't
no
the
design.
character already at risk by having so many la-di-da?
But architect implements the design. They will try to bring in the
Make sure,
design.
yes, that it happens. Everyone follow through.
But there is an counter argument
Nowadays-
to it. What if there is no? What if we ignore design? What
Yes.
are the?
I mean, the architect's job nowadays. You mean the greats, the popular ones, Libeskin, Zaha, all these people. They are salesperson. They turn into brands. So that's a redundancy in itself. They're so-called book authors. It's so expensive, but it doesn't teach you anything.
Only if you look
Redundancy.
at architects as only those people you claim as architects. There are great architects out there that
Yes.
we don't know. Probably we don't know.
Maybe
Yes.
because of their introverted character. Because they don't want this. They just
They
care
just
about their
want.
work.
They
don't
just
care
want to go through their life and just do it.
Because they're not mainstream.
Hipsters.
Sure, damn hipsters.
So possibly because maybe we're learning in around that education system. Maybe we didn't search for the right one. The education didn't search for the true architect. They search just because they're famous. They search because
That's
they.
up to us, up to individual preference.
Yeah, this is more. Yeah, exactly. Up to the individual
So
preference. How
as a student,
choose.
we have to constantly check ourselves whether we're heading in the right direction. That's
Which
just
is
a
very
given.
difficult. Like Kevin Maklu said, it's an old man profession. It's an old man profession because I read somewhere in Google that in your personality at your age, around like 20, why we question this kind of thing is because we're still searching for ourselves. By around 50, we're at peace with ourselves. So maybe this kind of thing that we created a building is when we're ready, when we're at peace at ourselves, when we know, and
When
that's
we
how
understand
it works.
how the whole
Life
thing
things
works.
works. Then we make a building which justify the character of what we believe.
So all this time before we
We're-
turn
we're
to
just-
50,
We'll have
we're
to learn.
gonna
We're still
Going through a very,
Going through a-
very awesome journey.
putting out
phase, a
shit
I
phase.
think
stuff.
we're being taught the wrong thing. When we are going into architecture schools, we shouldn't be taught that you only have to learn a little.
Yeah.
You should be taught that
But,
there's so
but
much.
do you
to
really
explore.
think that we learn only a little?
As soon as you enter, you're told the architect's role to know little of everything.
Okay, the thing is, when you say a little of everything, do you
It's
know
a-
how much is a little of everything?
You're
It's
just quantifying it to make it seem that
2% of your DNA is still quite a lot. 2% of the world population is still quite a lot.
Yes.
So to say that a little of everything is still considered a lot. You're still trying to understand geography, you try to understand culture, you try to understand a lot of stuff. If you think
That
about
I
it.
agree.
But as a good architect, an engineer once said to me, if you want to be a good architect, you have to learn everything. It's not little, but you have to learn everything. You have to touch on everything. And a good architect would already present to the engineers the OTTV, the IGBI, all the calculations needed. And give it to them, and they just kind of the engineer do their thing, and
Do their thing.
the work gets done. But an architect, a good one, would know everything, and that takes time, and that's why it's an old man's profession.
Maybe to put in a statement, not a good architect. No, maybe a good human should. It's not that they have to learn about everything, but they have to keep on learning until.
Yes, that I agree very much.
Maybe a good architect also have to keep on learning.
Yes.
So
Architecture is always a learning
learning process.
So
no
in
one-
uni, they teach you a little bit about everything. It's because you need to go. Yeah, you have to get up and walk the extra mile. The university will only show you the way.
But
it takes-
Such a
for
cliche.
a student who's new to it, they shouldn't be told you're marketing it wrong. They should be told, this is what it is.
They will guide you to that road, but you just have to take that extra mile to just go a bit to the left, a bit to the right to see what else is there around. Well, if you're
No,
given
I-
that
I
this is where you have to
a
play.
problem not with learning a little of everything. I have a problem with being told that you have to learn a little.
You're always against the system, by the way. If those
No,
of you
I
listening.
think it's just how you perceive as when people say you
You're
have to.
giving a psychological impression of an architect as someone who doesn't do much.
I guess that's your perception on when people say that statement. I guess if you have relatives or anybody who's close within the construction industry, so I think in a way you should actually try to learn every single thing, like absorb what you can. But if you enter this architecture school, I guess it's harder, I guess, to accept that you have to learn a lot of stuff.
I think the education system seriously need to upgrade.
It needs an upgrade.
It needs an
especially
upgrade.
for architecture
Amen.
schools.
You agree?
True.
I agree.
Okay. And we'll just end it
On
on that.
XOXO.
Cut out the EXO, please.